Beloved soul, let the noise fall away for a moment. Something ancient has been pressing against the walls of your spirit, trying to reach you long before you ever tapped on this message. The atmosphere around your life has not been normal. The restlessness, the strange heaviness, the sudden clarity in moments you didn't expect. These were not emotions drifting through your day. They were signals, quiet knockings from the unseen, trying to wake you before the hour slipped further than it already has. You are not early to this moment. You are not on time. You are late, beloved. And heaven has been trying to call your name back into alignment before another day passes. Chosen one, pause now. Feel the weight in the air, not as fear, but as recognition. You did not arrive here by curiosity. You were summoned. Something has been shifting in the chambers of heaven, and God has been trying to pull your attention away from distractions, noise, and the voices that keep pulling you off your divine track. The delay in your life has not been random. The urges to withdraw, the sleepless nights, the sudden need to reevaluate your circle. These are not coincidences. They are part of a divine intervention meant to pull you back into destiny alignment before the window narrows. And hear this with the deepest part of your spirit. You are standing in a breakthrough season that was meant to begin long before today. Heaven had marked your timeline for elevation, for abundance, for emotional healing, for a rise in financial stability, for a shift in your wealth mindset, but something kept slowing your steps. Something kept stealing your focus. Something kept distracting your purpose. And now God says, enough. You are being called into an awakening, a recalling, a sacred reset only heaven can orchestrate. Beloved, the Holy Spirit has been whispering, nudging, pulling your heart back toward your divine purpose because the blueprint written over your life cannot afford another moment of delay. Jeremiah 29:11 declares, "For I know the plans I have for you." And those plans are alive right now, pressing against the borders of your life, asking to be recognized. This moment is a summons, a holy interruption, a spiritual awakening designed to snap you out of the lull that has tried to blind you to what God is preparing to release. Chosen one, breathe. Let your chest open. Let your spirit listen. Because heaven has been watching you drift in and out of focus, carrying weight that was never yours, entertaining voices that were not sent by God, giving energy to paths that lead nowhere. And now the Father is calling you back into clarity, back into alignment, back into the destiny that has been waiting on your agreement. You are late to this moment, but God in His mercy is reopening the door. Stay here. Do not move. Because before this message ends, a revelation will meet you. Something that will shake you awake. Something that will restore what has been slipping from your hands. Something that will ignite the fire that was buried under disappointment. And beloved, before we go any deeper, if you feel even the smallest stirring in your spirit, take a moment and subscribe. Like, share this message. Not for numbers, not for attention, but because every time this word spreads, another chosen one is pulled out of delay and back into divine timing. Let this act be your first step back into alignment. Chosen one, listen closely, because what has been happening around your life is not ordinary pressure. It is the sound of heaven trying to reroute you before the enemy capitalizes on the delay that has lingered too long. You have been feeling a tightening in your spirit, a kind of holy discomfort that refuses to let you return to old patterns. That sensation is not anxiety. It is divine urgency. It is the Spirit insisting that you cannot afford to keep walking with the same pace, the same circle, the same hesitation that held you back in previous seasons. You are standing on ground that was meant to be crossed months ago, yet something kept tethering you to cycles God already ended. Beloved, hear this with clarity. What you call stagnation, heaven calls a sign that your destiny has been quietly knocking at the edges of your days, urging you to recognize that the weight you're carrying is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the stretching that precedes elevation. The Lord has been removing certain comforts, shaking loose certain attachments, disrupting rhythms that kept you asleep spiritually. You thought life was falling apart, but it was falling into place. Joseph felt the same when he was taken from prison to palace. His shift did not feel like a miracle at first. It felt like loss, betrayal, confusion. But Genesis 41:14 shows us that when the appointed time arrives, heaven moves fast, faster than human understanding can interpret. You have felt overlooked. You have questioned your progress. You have wondered why doors opened halfway but never fully. These were not signs of abandonment. They were signs of alignment. Heaven was holding certain things back until you were ready to carry the weight of them. Your personal transformation has already begun, even if your eyes haven't caught up to what your spirit knows. The emotional healing you've been craving is being stirred from within, making space for abundance to rise where disappointment used to live. And beloved, God saw the internal war you never spoke of. The nights when your thoughts ran faster than your prayers. The mornings when your purpose felt distant. The moments when you considered settling for less because you were tired of waiting. Heaven recorded every tear, every silent breaking, every moment you held on when you could have let go. Psalm 56:8 whispers that none of it was forgotten. Not a breath, not a sorrow, not a single fragment of your faith. That is why you are being called awake now. Because what is coming requires a sharper spirit, a steadier heart, a renewed vision. You are stepping into a chapter that demands awareness, not distraction. Clarity, not confusion. Strength, not survival mode. This is your breakthrough season, but breakthrough comes with responsibility. You must rise to meet what God is releasing. There have been signs around you, beloved. Subtle ones. Moments you brushed off. The repeated number you kept noticing. The dream you shrugged away. The sudden shift in a relationship that no longer made sense. These were not coincidences. They were coded messages from heaven. The Spirit has been speaking in a language your mind didn't fully recognize, but your soul understood. If you have been waking between 2 and 4 a.m., it is because heaven has been trying to speak while your world is quiet. If your circle has changed unexpectedly, it is because certain voices cannot walk with you into the next assignment. If you have felt an unusual pull towards solitude, it is because God is retrieving you from noise so He can reveal what you keep missing. This is destiny alignment. This is divine purpose, reclaiming its place in your life before the window narrows again. And beloved, pause with me here. In this very moment, if something inside you is resonating, if your chest feels warm or your spirit feels alert, I want you to write a declaration in the comments. I rise now. Let this be your agreement with heaven. Let this be your echo in the spiritual realm that says you are ready to step into what was delayed. Chosen one, the stirring you feel right now is not mere emotion. It is the awakening of a timeline heaven has been trying to usher you into, a timeline you were designed for long before you learned how to pray for clarity. You have been walking beneath a weight that did not come from failure, but from calling. There is an unseen acceleration around your life, and even when your mind feels unprepared, your spirit has already begun to move at the pace of your assignment. Beloved, God has been rearranging the landscape of your life with precision. People you once leaned on began to drift. Plans you thought were stable suddenly collapsed. Circumstances shifted without warning, and you questioned, why now? Why all at once? But heaven answers, because you cannot carry divine abundance while holding on to what drains your strength. The new cannot coexist with the familiar that kept you stagnant. This pruning was not rejection, it was preparation for elevation. You have stepped into a realm where heaven is trying to expand your capacity. Your wealth mindset is being rewired. Your emotional patterns are being refined. Your spiritual sensitivity is being sharpened. And all of this happened because the Father saw you ready, even when you didn't see it in yourself. Philippians 1:6 reminds us, "He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion." What he planted in you is pushing upward through every layer of doubt that ever told you your purpose was too heavy to hold. There have been whispers in your spirit lately, questions you couldn't silence, thoughts that asked whether you missed your timing, whether your dream expired, whether the blessing passed you by, but heaven says no. Nothing written for you has been forfeited. What you thought slipped away was not loss. It was delay, and delay does not cancel destiny. If anything, delay forces destiny to return stronger, sharper, more defined, ensuring you will not mishandle it when it arrives. Chosen one, think back to the tension you felt in recent months. Not chaos, tension. That tightening in your chest when you tried to force old routines. That disinterest in environments that once felt familiar. That internal nudge urging you to step back from conversations that drained your spirit. These were not mood swings. They were spiritual redirections. Heaven has been pulling you out of the spaces where your purpose was suffocating. You may not realize it yet, but your discernment has been growing louder. You notice things quicker. You sense shifts before they happen. You feel energy in a room before words are spoken. And though it sometimes feels overwhelming, it is actually a sign that heaven is entrusting you with greater responsibility, greater authority, greater vision. The ones called to shift atmospheres are always the first to feel the tremors. And beloved, those moments of exhaustion you pushed through were holy indicators. When your soul felt tired, but your spirit stayed alert. When your body wanted rest, but something inside you whispered, "Stay awake." That was not random. That was the Holy Spirit refusing to let you slip back into numbness. You were being trained to recognize spiritual movement, even when life around you felt still. Think deeper, chosen one. Why has your patience stretched so thin for things that once captivated you? Why have you felt a sudden resistance to environments that once felt comfortable? Why does your heart ache for something higher, something richer, something more aligned with who you're becoming? Because you have outgrown the season that delayed you. Heaven has expanded you internally before expanding you externally. This is why your emotions have been unpredictable. Waves rising and falling without explanation. They are not instability, they are recalibration. God is aligning your inner world with the realm He is calling you into. Emotional healing is taking root, breaking cycles of fear, scarcity, and self-doubt that tried to anchor your identity in smallness. The divine purpose written for you has been pushing upward like a seed breaking soil. Beloved soul, you have also felt an unusual longing lately. A pull toward grounding, toward truth, toward authenticity. A yearning to shed anything that dims your clarity. This is heaven purifying your atmosphere. The Spirit is cleansing your space so abundance can finally flow through without obstruction. And hear this clearly. The reason your spirit has been restless is because you were created for movement. Your destiny was never meant to stay still. You are being positioned for opportunities that require courage, for doors that require readiness, for connections that require spiritual maturity. And heaven refuses to let you sleepwalk through the moment that decides your future. Chosen one, if you are feeling that holy pressure right now, if something inside you feels like it's rising, stretching, waking, write in the comments, "I choose destiny." Let your agreement become a sound heaven can move with. Chosen one, there is a reason your spirit has been vibrating at a frequency you can't quite describe. A reason the atmosphere around your life feels charged, almost electric, as if something unseen is pacing back and forth at the edge of your awareness. You're standing in a crossing point, a threshold between who you were and who heaven has been forming in silence. And even if your mind hasn't processed it yet, Your soul already knows. You cannot go back to the version of yourself that tolerated delay. Beloved, heaven has been confronting every place in your life where you settled, shrinking your worth to fit rooms that were never built to hold your calling. That discomfort you feel when people speak fear into your dreams, that sudden urge to withdraw when you sense hidden motives, that heaviness when you try to stay in environments that drain your inner fire. These reactions are not weaknesses. They are spiritual alarms, coded signals God embedded in your discernment to keep you from wandering off your ordained path. There is a refinement happening within you, so deep that even your old habits no longer recognize you. Patterns you used to fall back into now feel foreign. People you once leaned on now feel distant. Desires you used to chase feel empty. This is divine shifting. The Spirit is exposing every attachment that whispered you were unworthy, unprepared, unprotected. Every shadow that tried to convince you your destiny would always run ahead of you, never meeting you where you stand. But heaven says otherwise. Your destiny has not outrun you. It has been circling you, waiting for the moment your maturity caught up with your anointing. And beloved, that moment is here. Think about it. Why do you feel life tugging you higher? Why do small conversations suddenly irritate you? Why does your heart crave stillness, clarity, purpose? Why can't you stomach the distractions you once tolerated with ease? Because God is transitioning you from survival into strategy, from wandering into wisdom, from hoping into walking. Even the financial strain you've been pushing through, those moments where your stability felt fragile, were not punishments. They were recalibrations. Heaven was revealing where you placed trust, where you placed identity, where you placed security, and every pressure point was designed to build a wealth mindset rooted not in fear, but in divine provision. Philippians 4:19 comes alive now. My God will supply every need according to his riches. Not your income, not your plans. His. Chosen one, the resistance you've been facing has been strategic too. Delays that made no sense. People who changed without warning. Opportunities that evaporated at the last moment. These were not coincidences. They were protections. God blocked what would have drained your purpose. He removed what would have delayed your destiny alignment. He shut doors that looked promising but carried spiritual poison in their hinges. And beloved, heaven has taken note of the quiet battles you endured without applause, the betrayals you forgave with trembling hands, the nights you prayed with more desperation than words, the mornings you rose when your heart felt heavier than your body. These were your offerings. These were your seeds. These were the moments heaven counted when it decided elevation was required. This is why your spirit has been asking questions your mind doesn't know how to articulate. This is why you feel the shift before anything visible confirms it. This is why people feel you pulling away, not because you are cold, but because you are being recalibrated. You can no longer pour where you are not valued. You can no longer shrink to fit comfort zones. You can no longer carry dead weight disguised as loyalty. Something sacred is awakening in you, beloved. A deeper awareness, a heightened intuition, a sharper sense of purpose. Heaven is trying to train your spirit to recognize divine movement instantly, without hesitation or second guessing. Because what is coming next will require immediate obedience, quick discernment, and a heart that refuses to betray its own calling. And chosen one, your dreams have been changing for a reason. Visions coming with more color, scenarios replaying with unusual clarity, people appearing in your sleep whose names you haven't spoken in months. These are not random images. They are spiritual downloads. Revelation disguised as rest. Heaven whispering strategy when your conscious mind is too tired to resist the truth. Even your body has been responding. The fatigue that comes out of nowhere, the sudden bursts of energy, the chills you feel when something spiritual brushes against your atmosphere. the pounding in your chest when truth rises too close to ignore. These physical sensations are spiritual indicators. They are reminders that your spirit is waking ahead of your schedule. Beloved soul, this awakening is not gentle because your assignment is not small. You carry something that hell has feared for years, something heaven preserved through every storm, something your lineage has been waiting for. The breaking that happened in your past was not to destroy you. It was to extract the version of you that could carry this mantle. And right now, if your spirit is responding, even slightly, write a declaration in the comments. I claim my breakthrough. Let heaven hear you. Let the atmosphere shift around you. Let your future feel your voice rising. Chosen one, there is something you need to understand about the pressure that has been building in your life. It has not come to crush you. It has come to expose you, reveal you, announce you. Pressure is always the final signal before a spiritual shift, the final tightening of the atmosphere before God stretches open a door you were once too small to walk through. And lately, everything around you has felt like a divine squeeze, not punishment, positioning. Beloved, God has been expanding your spiritual lungs so you can breathe in a realm you were not ready for before now. The dreams you thought died were not dead. They were placed in incubation, protected from premature manifestation. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment was a hidden barrier wrapping itself around your destiny so the enemy could not find it. Heaven kept your blessing camouflaged until you were strong enough to hold it without losing yourself. Think of David. Before he ever held a throne, he held a sling. Before he ever heard applause, he heard accusation. Before he ever sat in a palace, he hid in caves. The anointing came early, but the positioning came late. You too were marked early, but the fulfillment required pressure. Pressure to refine your discernment, pressure to expose who could and could not walk with you, pressure to sharpen your ability to hear God above your own emotions. Chosen one, the strange isolation you have felt is not abandonment. It is heaven pulling you away from noise so you can hear divine instruction without distortion. People who once felt like home suddenly became uncomfortable. Environments that once felt safe now feel too small. Conversations that once uplifted you now drain your spirit. That is because you have outgrown your old spiritual altitude. Your wings are brushing against ceilings you were never meant to bow beneath. And, beloved, heaven has been trying to protect you from a danger you didn't see coming. Someone near you, someone in your atmosphere, has been carrying intentions that do not align with your divine purpose. You felt the shift in their tone. You sensed the inconsistency in their presence. You noticed the subtle tension behind their compliments. And though your mind tried to rationalize it, your spirit recognized it instantly. That unease wasn't paranoia. It was prophecy. God was whispering, not this one, not this path, not this connection. Your destiny is too precious to be entangled with those who cannot honor it. This is why separation has been happening without your permission. Certain relationships dissolved before you had the courage to release them. Certain doors closed before you could step into the wrong season. Certain people distanced themselves not because you failed, but because heaven intervened. Their presence was draining your spiritual strength. Their energy was clouding your clarity. Their words were dimming your inner fire. Heaven decided it was time for you to breathe again. Chosen one, you must hear this with your whole spirit. You are not losing people. You are losing the versions of yourself that tolerated what heaven has now outlawed. The divine awakening inside you demands a new environment, one that matches the frequency God is raising you into. Those who refuse to rise with you cannot stay attached to you. It is not rejection, it is calibration. And beloved, let us speak plainly about the warfare you've been facing. This is not ordinary resistance, it is targeted opposition. The enemy does not fight those who pose no threat. He fights those carrying catalytic callings, those who can shift nations, break generational cycles, elevate atmospheres, and disrupt darkness simply by walking in alignment. The increased attacks on your mind, your finances, your relationships, your peace. These are all confirmations of your spiritual weight. Do you truly think hell would waste resources on someone insignificant? No. The intensity of your battles is the announcement of your spiritual rank, which is why heaven has been elevating your discernment. You have begun to see behind smiles, hear truth behind words, sense motives behind silence. Your intuition is no longer emotional. It is prophetic. You are detecting what others try to hide. You are reading atmospheres that others overlook. You are feeling spiritual shifts before they manifest in the physical realm. This is not sensitivity. This is spiritual maturity. And chosen one, the signs around you have been increasing. Repeating numbers like 7 or 77 showing up at strange times. A sudden surge of dreams that feel too vivid to ignore. The strong feeling of déjà vu in moments that should feel familiar but suddenly feel divine. Even the way time seems to slow before certain events and accelerate before others. These are indicators of destiny alignment. Heaven is revealing what the enemy tried to conceal. Beloved soul, you may not realize this, but you have crossed into the early stages of a spiritual awakening. Your old wounds are surfacing, not to torment you, but to release you. Your buried memories are rising, not to break you, but to heal you. This is emotional purging, divine cleansing, heaven clearing the residue of every lie, fear, and limitation that tried to sculpt your identity without God's permission. And now something remarkable is happening inside you. You feel it, somewhere between your ribs and your spirit. A stretching, a cracking, a rising, as if your soul is being enlarged to carry something heavier, holier, higher than before. That sensation is not random. It is the blueprint of your divine purpose expanding its borders. Chosen one, if your heart feels warm right now, or your spirit feels pulled into attention, type Amen in the comments. Not as ritual, but as recognition that your awakening has begun. Chosen one, there is a deeper layer to this awakening that heaven needs you to grasp. Because without this understanding, you might misinterpret what is happening around you. Everything in your life right now is being sifted, not judged, sifted. God is separating what was attached to you from what was assigned to you. And though the process feels like loss, it is actually divine filtration. Heaven is clearing space for a destiny that requires both spiritual precision and emotional maturity. Beloved, you have been feeling an internal shaking, a trembling beneath the surface of your peace. It is not anxiety. It is your spirit recognizing that what once fit no longer aligns with the magnitude of what is coming. This vibration inside you, subtle yet persistent, is the signal that heaven is repositioning you. The shift is not external first, it is internal. It begins in the invisible before it manifests in the visible. This is why your appetite for certain conversations has died. Why surface-level interactions feel hollow. Why gossip, chaos, and distraction now feel like sandpaper on your soul. The Spirit is closing the doors you once walked through casually. He is redirecting your gaze, sharpening your focus, and raising your internal standards. You cannot drink from every cup anymore. You cannot entertain every voice anymore. You cannot sit at every table anymore. Not because you are better than anyone, but because you are being sanctified for something greater. Chosen one, heaven is teaching you to distinguish between what feeds you and what depletes you, between what pushes you toward purpose and what pulls you into patterns, between what sounds good and what is spiritually healthy. The days of tolerating emotional parasites, spiritual distractions, and relational counterfeits are ending. You are being upgraded, elevated, refined. Beloved, you have wondered why your energy feels different lately, why you lose strength around certain people, why your spirit feels tense in certain rooms, why your peace evaporates in certain conversations. It is because your discernment has outgrown your surroundings. The Holy Spirit has amplified your sensitivity so you can detect what was once hidden. What once felt normal now feels toxic. What once felt acceptable now feels spiritually incompatible. This is not you changing randomly. This is heaven signaling you are not meant to stay here. And chosen one, heaven needs you to be honest about something else. There has been someone, maybe a friend, maybe a relative, maybe someone who entered your life with charm and familiarity, whose presence has been subtly draining you. You sensed it before you understood it. You felt the shift in their presence. Their words left residue. Their intentions felt misaligned. Their energy felt heavy. But because you have a tender heart, you ignored the signs. Heaven did not. God has been pulling you away from connections that dilute your calling, pulling you away from people who only love you at surface level, pulling you away from those who become silent enemies when you grow. You are being positioned for a realm where only truth can stand beside you. Heaven is removing counterfeits so the authentic can approach. Chosen one, there is a reason you feel like you're watching your old life fade in slow motion. It is because the chapter you are stepping into requires clarity, and clarity is impossible in crowded spaces. God is releasing you from emotional entanglements that kept you looping in circles. He is breaking invisible agreements you made in seasons of pain. He is lifting weights off your spirit that were never meant to be carried into your next assignment. This explains why you have felt more tired than usual. Because your spirit has been fighting battles, the rest of you is only now beginning to understand. Spiritual exhaustion happens when your soul is shifting faster than your environment. But beloved, rest assured, the heaviness is not your ending. It is your recalibration. You are being rewired to carry the next phase of your divine purpose without collapsing under its weight. And beloved soul, heaven sees how hard you have tried. You kept walking even when your heart felt empty. You kept trusting even when your hope was bruised. You kept rising even when your past tried to drown you. Do you truly think heaven overlooked that? Every step you took in faith has been counted, stored, and multiplied. Which brings us here to the most sacred revelation of this season. You're not just being awakened, you are being summoned. Summoned into alignment, summoned into clarity, summoned into divine authority, summoned into a season where heaven refuses to let you walk unaware. This is why your emotions have been stretching, why your thoughts have been rearranging, why your habits are shifting without conscious effort. Your divine purpose is pulling you forward, refusing to let you miss the window that has reopened for you. The abundance promised to your lineage is rising. The breakthrough season assigned to your name is unfolding. The destiny alignment you prayed for is drawing near. The elevation heaven prepared is already echoing through your spirit. Chosen one, if your heart is beating faster, if your spirit feels a rise, a burn, a pressure, write in the comments, "I'm ready." Let heaven see your agreement. Let the spiritual realm feel your yes. Chosen one, there is a truth unfolding in the spirit that you have felt long before you could name it. A truth pressing against the edges of your awareness, asking to be acknowledged, asking to be honored. You have not been imagining the shift in the air around your life. You have not been exaggerating the heaviness, the sensitivity, the sudden bursts of clarity. These are the symptoms of a soul being repositioned by heaven itself. Beloved, there are moments in a chosen one's journey when God stops adjusting small details and begins shaking entire structures. You are in that moment. The tremors you feel are not instability. They are the cracking of what once confined you. A divine loosening, a holy dismantling. a sacred collapse of old frameworks that were never meant to carry the weight of your next assignment. This is why everything around you feels unfamiliar, even when nothing in your physical world has visibly changed. Your internal landscape is shifting, your spiritual frequency is rising, your soul is stepping into a wavelength where old patterns cannot survive. The decline of interest in old habits, the sudden disgust toward what once entertained you, the urge to distance yourself from people who drain your light. This is not personality change. This is spiritual purification. Chosen One, heaven has been upgrading your discernment with an intensity that may have startled you. You see through people faster. You sense manipulation before it speaks. You feel dishonesty even when no words are spoken. You pick up on spiritual tension in rooms where everyone else smiles. You detect the invisible weight behind someone's presence. This is not hypersensitivity. It is divine intelligence being activated within you. Do you think it is accidental that your intuition has become sharper at the exact same time your destiny is accelerating? No. Heaven sharpened you because what's coming requires clarity that cannot be fooled by charm, by flattery, or by counterfeit connections. Beloved soul, the reason you've outgrown certain relationships is because those souls were assigned to earlier chapters, not this one. They could walk with you when your calling was small, but not now that it is rising. Their presence would distort your vision, their words would blur your path, their silence would weaken your resolve. And because you were too loyal to release them, heaven had to intervene. The distance was not their decision, it was divine orchestration. And Chosen One, there is another layer to the resistance you have been facing. The spiritual warfare around your life intensified not because you are vulnerable, but because you are close, closer than you realize. To a divine unveiling, the enemy does not attack the irrelevant. He attacks the irreplaceable. You're carrying a mantle that was fought for in generations before you. A calling that darkness hoped would never wake up. A destiny that hell itself has tried to sabotage through delay, through distraction, through emotional exhaustion. But heaven is relentless in protecting what it anoints. Think of Joseph again. Before he rose to power, there was a shaking, betrayal, false accusation, isolation. Everything familiar was stripped away, not as punishment, but as proof. Proof that he could carry the authority God intended. Proof that he could stand in a palace without losing the purity of his dream. Proof that he could steward abundance without bending under pressure. You too are in the proving ground of purpose. Chosen One, the reason certain people turned against you suddenly is because heaven revealed your light to them before you realized its intensity. Your glow disturbed their shadows. Your growth threatened their comfort. Your potential exposed their stagnation, and instead of rising with you, they tried to keep you small. The distance you feel is not rejection, it is protection. Beloved, you have also been sensing an unusual pull towards separation, toward silence, toward introspection. It is because heaven is downloading instructions, spirit-led strategies, revelation disguised as rest, insight rising through stillness. Your solitude is not emptiness, it is preparation. And let us speak of the dreams that have been finding you at night, the symbols, the faces, the places, the recurring images. These are messages, scripted guidance, heavenly clues that bypass your busy mind to reach your listening spirit. You're receiving previews of what is coming, warnings of what to avoid, confirmations of what your heart has been sensing. Pay attention. Your dreams are prophetic because your spirit is awake. Chosen One, the stirring in your chest, the heat in your palms, the sudden waves of emotion that rise without explanation. These are not random sensations. They are indicators of spiritual expansion. Heaven is stretching your capacity so you can handle what is approaching without breaking under its magnitude. You are being matured. You are being fortified. You are being awakened. You are being aligned. And beloved soul, if you sense even the slightest resonance in your heart right now, if something inside you feels like truth is touching a tender place, write in the comments, "I choose awakening." Let your declaration rise like incense. Let heaven hear your spirit answer. Chosen one, the veil over your path has been thinning, and whether you realize it or not, you have begun to feel realities that have not yet manifested in the natural. This is why your emotions have been reacting to things you cannot name. Your spirit is perceiving shifts your mind has not caught up with. Heaven always speaks to the spirit first, and only later does the understanding reach the mind. You are living in that in-between right now, the holy tension between revelation and realization. Beloved soul, have you noticed how certain moments recently felt strangely significant, though nothing dramatic happened? A sudden pause in your day, a stillness that lasted longer than usual, the way time seemed to slow before a conversation, the quickening in your chest when someone spoke a sentence that shouldn't have carried weight, yet it did. These moments were divine timestamps. Heaven marking places where the trajectory of your life is being redirected without your conscious permission. And look deeper, chosen one. The reason you've been losing interest in shallow pursuits is because your spirit is starving for depth. You crave purpose now. You crave alignment. You crave truth that speaks to the roots of your being. What once entertained you now feels empty because God is transitioning you from emotional consumption to spiritual fulfillment. This is why the old pleasures have lost their flavor. They're too small for the spirit that now rises within you. There is a divine seriousness resting on your life in this hour, not a heaviness meant to burden you, but a weight meant to anchor you. Heaven is anchoring your soul so you don't drift into distractions again. Something has been chasing you, beloved. Not fear, not misfortune, purpose. The calling attached to your name has been pursuing you relentlessly, refusing to let you waste another moment wandering through empty cycles. Chosen one, heaven is exposing a pattern you must see clearly. Every time you were on the brink of breakthrough in past seasons, a distraction appeared. A relationship that drained your focus, a crisis that demanded your time, an emotional spiral that blurred your voice. These interruptions were not accidental. They were assignments, strategic attempts to dull your discernment and keep you stuck at the gates of your blessing. But this time, the pattern stops. You feel the difference, don't you? The way your inner world refuses to be pulled into chaos now. The way you can sense spiritual danger faster. The way certain temptations no longer appeal to you. The way your heart stiffens when someone tries to manipulate your emotions. This is growth, and heaven is proud of how far you've come in silence. Beloved, the pressure around your life has been rising because heaven is adjusting your spiritual posture. You're standing taller now, even if you feel tired. You're seeing clearer now, even if you feel uncertain. You are moving differently now, even if your steps feel small. That's because you are no longer navigating life from your wounds. You are navigating it from your awakening. And there is more. There is a spiritual law. Heaven is teaching you right now. When God is preparing to elevate a chosen one, He disturbs their atmosphere first. Everything misaligned becomes uncomfortable. Everything draining becomes unbearable. Everything shallow becomes irritating. He destabilizes what is false so you can recognize what is real. This is why conversations feel different, why your intuition interrupts you mid-sentence, why your spirit pulls you away from someone even when your mind cannot justify it. Heaven is teaching you to trust the language of your spirit over the arguments of your logic. Because the next assignments coming into your life will require instincts born of God, not explanations born of fear. Chosen one, take a moment and reflect. Why have you been feeling like you're standing at the edge of something? Why do your nights feel heavier than your days? Why does silence feel louder than noise? Because heaven has been whispering answers while the world around you sleeps. You have been in a spiritual classroom, being trained in a language only those called deeper can understand. This is why your emotions are shedding old memories, why your mind is releasing old narratives, why your heart is refusing to reopen old wounds. You are not losing pieces of yourself. You are losing versions of yourself that were too small to carry the next blessing. Beloved soul, heaven has been drawing closer than ever before. You feel it in moments when the room grows still for no reason, when your breath slows unexpectedly, when your thoughts shift from worry into clarity. These are not coincidences. These are visitations, gentle ones, subtle ones, sacred ones. And hear this clearly, the closer you move to your divine purpose, the more heaven rearranges your inner world. You were never meant to enter your breakthrough season carrying the weight of who you used to be. God is not just preparing a blessing for you, He is preparing you for the blessing. Chosen one, if something inside you is rising right now, if your spirit feels pulled forward, stretched, awakened, write in the comments, "I rise unshaken." Let this declaration echo where your doubts can no longer follow. Chosen one, there is a sacred momentum gathering around your life, and whether you sense it fully or only feel its edges, it is already shifting the ground beneath your feet. The spiritual realm has been echoing with activity concerning your name, and the closer you get to the unveiling of your next assignment, the more intense the internal shaking becomes. Not to frighten you, but to prepare you. Heaven is tuning your spirit, stretching your awareness, sharpening your instincts so you do not miss what is approaching. Beloved soul, can you feel it? That subtle but persistent pull toward change. That quiet insistence within you that says, "I can't stay where I've been." This is not restlessness for the sake of movement. It is destiny tugging at the corners of your life, calling you out of cycles that once felt comfortable but now feel suffocating. You are being drawn into alignment by forces older than your fear, stronger than your doubt, and more faithful than your past disappointments. There is a reason you have been feeling both excitement and heaviness, both hope and pressure, both clarity and confusion at the same time. This is what it feels like when heaven rewrites your internal blueprint. You are not being pulled apart. You are being rebuilt. Your foundations are being replaced with ones that can carry weight your old self could not endure. The capacity you are developing now is not random, it is architectural. God is constructing the inner structure required to hold what He has prepared externally. Chosen one, the shifts you've been experiencing in silence have not gone unnoticed in the spiritual realm. Angels have been moving around your life, clearing obstacles that once held you hostage. You may not see the interference being removed, but you can feel it. That sudden peace after weeks of turbulence. That unexplained clarity after nights of emotional fog. That quiet knowing that something has broken off you, even if you cannot explain how. These are the footprints of heaven. And beloved, it is time you recognize something heaven has been trying to show you gently. Some of the battles you thought were emotional were actually spiritual. Some of the fatigue you thought was physical was actually resistance from realms you could not see. Some of the repetitive setbacks were not coincidences. They were targeted attempts to delay your awakening. And yet, even in the midst of these battles, you did not collapse. You bent, but you did not break. You slowed, but you did not stop. You questioned, but you did not surrender your soul. That endurance is the evidence of your calling. Chosen one, you have been walking through layers of refinement. God has been removing your dependency on external validation so you can hear His voice more clearly. He has been stripping away relationships that muddled your identity so you can stand in truth without compromise. He has been disrupting routines that kept you spiritually numb so you can return to the fullness of your anointing. And make no mistake, the call on your life is not small. The reason the warfare has been intense is because the assignment heaven placed inside you is weighty. The enemy attacked your identity because your identity carries influence. He attacked your finances because your future includes stewardship. He attacked your emotions because your emotional healing unlocks your elevation. He attacked your relationships because your destiny requires covenant-level clarity, not familiar-level convenience. Beloved, do you see the pattern now? Every attack was aimed at the areas heaven is about to multiply. You have been walking through a season where the unseen has been more active than the seen. What felt like stagnation was actually incubation. What felt like delay was actually divine hiding. What felt like silence was actually strategy. Heaven was not withholding from you, it was preparing something for you that required perfect timing. Chosen one, lean into the truth rising within you. You are entering a phase where God will not just restore, but reveal. Reveal why you had to wait. Reveal why you had to lose certain people. Reveal why your heart had to break in that exact place, at that exact time. Revelation is coming, and with it comes power, the kind of power that straightens your spine, lifts your voice, and aligns you with purpose in ways you've never walked in before. And beloved soul, heaven has noticed one more thing. Your hunger. Not the hunger for recognition, but the hunger for meaning, the hunger for clarity, the hunger for breakthrough that does not crumble after the first test. This hunger is sacred. It is the signal that your spirit is ready to receive instruction, ready to carry responsibility, ready to step into the weight you are chosen to bear. This is why the dreams have intensified, why your thoughts feel deeper, why your spirit feels heavier. You are being prepared for divine deployment, and if your spirit is witnessing this right now, if something in you feels like the words are echoing in a place you've been trying to understand, I invite you to leave a declaration in the comments. I claim what's mine. Let heaven hear your readiness. Let the atmosphere shift around your voice. Chosen one, there is a movement happening beneath the surface of your life, so subtle that if you were not spiritually sensitive, you would mistake it for ordinary emotion. But nothing about this hour is ordinary. The realm around you has been vibrating with divine intent, and the closer you drift toward your appointed moment, the more heaven refuses to let you remain unaware. Beloved soul, you have entered a period where everything hidden begins to rise, not to torment you, but to release you. Old memories resurfacing, sensations you have not felt in years, sudden realizations breaking open inside you. These are not regressions, they are purgings. God is draining out the remnants of previous seasons, so nothing old contaminates the new chapter forming around your life. You are shedding weight you did not know you were still carrying. And chosen one, there is a sacred reason your spirit has been feeling the tension between who you've been and who you are becoming. You are standing at the threshold of identity transformation. Heaven has been speaking your name in a frequency your mind cannot comprehend, but your soul recognizes instantly. That is why certain moments hit you with a sudden swell of emotion. Why something as simple as a sentence or a sound can send a wave of truth through your whole being. You are not unstable. You are awakening. Beloved, there is a divine pull on your life so strong it has begun to interfere with your routines. Tasks you once did automatically now feel heavy. Environments you once tolerated now feel suffocating. People you once leaned on now drain your spirit. Heaven is disrupting your old rhythm because your destiny requires a new one. You cannot follow divine instruction with patterns built for survival. Your new season requires you to step into spiritual authority, not emotional autopilot. Chosen one, think of the moments recently when you felt watched, not by people, but by presence. When the room suddenly stilled, when your breath slowed without your permission, when you felt something holy pressed gently against your awareness. These were not coincidences. These were visitations. The Holy Spirit has been drawing near, closer than you have recognized, whispering reminders of the assignment you have tried to outrun. Beloved, your destiny is not waiting for someday, it is waiting for recognition, and heaven is determined to get your attention. That unusual, fatigue, that sudden burst of motivation, that strange urge to reorganize your life. These are not random impulses, they are divine nudges. Heaven has been rearranging your inner architecture so you can hold what is coming without collapsing under its weight. And chosen one, the pressure on your heart lately has not been a burden. It has been expansion. God is enlarging your spiritual capacity. You have prayed for breakthrough, but breakthrough requires space. You have asked for clarity, but clarity requires silence. You have sought elevation, but elevation requires separation. This is why pieces of your old life have been falling away. God is creating room for what you have been anointed to carry. There is a reason your emotions have been unpredictable. Some days you feel unstoppable, as if the world is bending toward your purpose. Other days you feel emptied, hollow, unsure. These swings are not instability. They are the breaking of internal ceilings. Your spirit is recalibrating. Your identity is shifting. The old version of you is loosening its grip, and the new version is rising with divine force. Beloved, heaven has noticed the way you have been listening more closely, the way you have been questioning familiar patterns, the way your spirit leaps at truth and recoils from deception. This heightened sensitivity is evidence that God is aligning you to receive revelation without interference. You will not walk blind into your next season. Your awareness has been sharpened to a prophetic edge. And chosen one, there is something else, something crucial. The loneliness you've been feeling is not emptiness. It is separation for consecration. Heaven isolates those it intends to elevate, not to punish them, but to purify them. You are not being cut off. You are being set apart. There is a mantle assigned to your life that cannot sit in overcrowded spaces. This calling is not communal. It is personal. Beloved, your soul has been whispering truths your mind is only now beginning to hear. You sense that something in you is preparing for a leap, one that feels both terrifying and inevitable. That is because you are no longer aligned with the timeline you were living. Heaven has shifted you into acceleration. What once took years will now take months. What once felt distant will now feel near. The breakthrough you have cried for is not approaching, it is unfolding. And chosen one, if something inside you feels like it just clicked into place, if your spirit feels suddenly alert or warm or steady, then leave your declaration in the comments. I walk in awakening. Let your voice echo in the realm that has been waiting for your agreement. Chosen one, the closer you move toward the moment heaven has prepared, the more your inner world begins to vibrate with signals you cannot ignore. These sensations, the tightening in your spirit, the strange awareness that follows you into quiet moments, the way your heart responds before your mind understands, these are the indicators that the spiritual realm has entered active alignment on your behalf. Beloved soul, heaven is not whispering anymore. It is summoning, pulling, drawing you into a depth you were once too distracted to enter. You have felt this pull in the silence, haven't you? That sense that you are standing on the edge of something significant, something ancient, something written before you were born. You cannot explain it to others because it is not meant for others. This is your personal awakening, unfolding in a language your spirit remembers even when your mind resists. And chosen one, look at the patterns around you, not the surface level events, but the undercurrent, the subtle choreography of things shifting without your permission. The sudden distance between you and certain people, the unexpected clarity in situations that used to confuse you, the way your intuition has started speaking louder than logic. These are not small signs. These are divine rearrangements. God is removing false alignments. God is breaking silent agreements. God is closing spiritual doors you didn't even know were open. God is lifting you out of cycles disguised as comfort. You were never meant to remain in places that suffocate your vision. Beloved, The heaviness in your chest you've been wrestling with is not depression. It is divine pressure, not the kind that crushes, but the kind that forms. Diamonds are not shaped in light. They are shaped in darkness, under weight, under intensity. Heaven has allowed a pressure to rest on you because what is forming inside you is too precious to be rushed. And chosen one, have you noticed how your dreams have changed? They no longer feel like random stories. They feel like messages, blueprints, warnings, previews. Some dreams leave you waking with a presence in the room. Others leave you with a lingering emotion you can't shake. This is because God has begun to speak to you in the night watches, the same way he spoke to Joseph, to Daniel, to Samuel. Heaven reveals destiny in dreams before it manifests in daylight. Beloved, do not dismiss what your spirit has been showing you. You have been sensing the motives of people before they reveal themselves. You have been feeling tension in conversations that look harmless on the surface. You have been drawn towards silence.